Have you ever had a moment where you're sitting alone, maybe the TV is playing in the background, maybe a cup of tea is getting cold beside you, and you just think, why don't I feel happy? It's not like anything is terribly wrong. The bills are paid. The kids are grown. You've done everything right. And yet there's a quiet emptiness, like something is missing and you can't quite put your finger on it. You're not alone in feeling this way. A lot of people, especially in this season of life, feel like joy has somehow slipped through the cracks. They say things like, I used to laugh more, or I thought I'd feel more peace by now. Maybe you've even said to yourself, I'll be happy when the family visits more, when your health improves, when you finally get that break you've been waiting for. But somehow, happiness keeps moving further down the road. Let's pause right there. Because this idea, this whole way of thinking about happiness, is where many of us go wrong. We've been trained to think happiness is something we have to chase, that it's waiting somewhere in the future after we fix everything or check off some imaginary list. But that's not how it works. Happiness isn't out there. It's not hiding in the next trip or in someone else's approval or in your old photo albums. The truth is, happiness isn't something to find. It's something to feel, right here, right now, even in the most ordinary of moments. You might be wondering, well, if happiness isn't something I can find or work toward, then what is it? And why don't I feel it? That's a fair question. And luckily, we don't have to guess. There's actually a lot of research that's been done on this exact topic. And the answers are both eye-opening and empowering. One of the most important studies ever done on happiness is the Harvard study of adult development. It's been running for over 80 years, yes, 80, tracking the lives of hundreds of people across their lifetimes. What makes this study so powerful is that it didn't just ask people to remember what made them happy. It followed them year after year, gathering real-time insights. And one of the most surprising things they found? People who spent their lives chasing external success, money, status, even big achievements, often ended up less happy than those who focused on small, meaningful things. The study also points to a simple but powerful idea. Happiness isn't some grand destination. It's a way of living. And most importantly, it's something you can start nurturing at any age, including right now. Let's break this down even further because science actually gives us a formula, a real, measurable equation for happiness. According to researchers, about 50% of your happiness comes from your genetics. Some people are naturally more cheerful, others may lean more serious or cautious. That part, you can't control. Another 10% comes from life circumstances, your health, income, location, and so on. Again, only partly in your hands. But here's the good news. The remaining 40%, almost half of your happiness, comes from intentional activity, from how you choose to think, act, and connect. That's the part that's within your power. That's the part you can do something about today. That's why it's so important to stop waiting. Stop putting your happiness on hold for the next big moment or the perfect situation. You don't have to wait for everything to be better. You can begin right where you are. Let's take a moment to explore what happiness really is. Because part of the problem is that many of us don't even agree on what the word means. For some people, happiness means laughing until your stomach hurts. For others, it means a quiet sense of peace, a feeling that life is meaningful and grounded. The truth is, happiness isn't one thing. It comes in different forms, and the more we understand that, the more we can begin to feel it in our everyday lives. One helpful way to look at happiness is to picture an ocean. Imagine you're standing on a beach. The waves roll in and out. Some days they're big and wild, exciting and fun. Other days, the ocean is calm and still. You can wade in, float, or just watch the water move peacefully. And sometimes the sky is stormy, the water is cold, and you wouldn't dare go in. But even on those days, there's something powerful about standing there, watching the waves crash, feeling the salt in the air. Happiness is a lot like that ocean. There are the waves, those big moments of fun, laughter, and joy. That's what researchers call hedonic happiness. It's about pleasure, enjoyment, living in the moment. Then there's the deeper part of the ocean, the calm, quiet satisfaction of living a life that feels meaningful and full. That's called eudaimonic happiness. It's about purpose, connection, and peace. You need both kinds. We all do. Some of us have lots of joy on the surface. We keep ourselves busy, we laugh at dinner, we enjoy hobbies. But underneath, there's an emptiness. No deep connection, no sense of fulfillment. Others have the opposite, a strong sense of purpose, but they've forgotten how to have fun. Every day starts to feel like a to-do list, and joy becomes something distant or rare. The key is balance. You can't swim in the ocean if you only float on top. And you can't stay in the deep forever without coming up for air. Life needs both. Moments of lightness and fun, and deeper currents of meaning and connection. If you're listening to this and thinking, maybe I've been missing one of those, that's not a failure. That's an insight. It means you're already paying attention. And that awareness is where change begins. Let's start with something simple, the idea of fun. When was the last time you did something just because it made you smile? Not because it was productive, not because it helped someone, just for you, for the joy of it. A lot of older adults fall into the trap of thinking fun is for young people, that at a certain age, we're supposed to be more serious, more responsible. But that mindset is one of the biggest things stealing happiness from your days. Fun is not childish. It's human. And it's necessary. One of the most surprising things researchers have found is that happy people aren't just lucky. They're intentional. They make time for things that bring them joy. They schedule it. They plan it. They protect it. Even when life is heavy, even when the days are hard, they still find space for fun. And not only does that fun lift their mood, it actually improves their physical health too, lowering stress, boosting immunity, and even helping memory. So what does this mean for you? It means fun matters. And it means that no matter your age, it's not too late to bring it back into your life. Whether it's dancing in the kitchen, picking up a hobby you used to love, watching a comedy instead of the news, or even calling a friend who always makes you laugh. Those moments are the waves in your ocean. They keep you feeling alive. You don't need a vacation to feel joy. You don't need perfect health. You don't need a crowd of people. You just need to give yourself permission to feel it again. And if you're thinking, but I don't even know what I enjoy anymore, that's okay too. Sometimes life gets so busy or overwhelming that we forget. But the beautiful thing is, you can rediscover it. Just like walking back into the ocean after years away. It might feel cold at first, but step by step, it gets more familiar. Sometimes all it takes is one small moment, a favorite song, a silly joke, the feel of sunshine on your face, to remind you that joy is still in you. It never left. It's just been waiting. And that's where we'll begin. It's interesting how easily we forget the simple things that once brought us joy. Somewhere along the way, life gets heavier, filled with responsibilities, unexpected health changes, or the quiet shifts that happen when family and friends drift apart. But joy doesn't disappear. It simply gets buried beneath everything else. And the good news is, it doesn't take much to bring it back up to the surface. Now that we've talked about fun, those light, uplifting waves of happiness, let's talk about something deeper. That steady feeling that tells you your life matters, that you belong, that you're still growing, still connected, still living with meaning. Because the truth is, even the best laughs only go so far if you don't feel fulfilled inside. You might relate to this. You go through your day, check the boxes, do what's needed. Maybe you cook, clean, run errands, care for others, or just try to stay out of pain. But inside, there's this lingering question. Is this all there is? And the answer isn't depressing, it's freeing. No, this isn't all there is. There's more, and it's within your reach. That deeper kind of happiness, the one that doesn't depend on circumstances, is what gives your life a steady pulse. It doesn't shout or sparkle. It hums. It grounds you. And one of the biggest sources of that kind of peace is feeling connected to other people. Not just surrounded by people, truly connected. There's a reason so many people feel lonely these days, even if they live with family or interact with others every day. Loneliness isn't just physical isolation. It's emotional disconnection. It's being in a room with others and still feeling invisible. It's going days without having a real, meaningful conversation with someone who sees you. Not just as someone's parent or grandparent or neighbor, but as a person. And this kind of loneliness is more common than you think. In fact, studies show that over 75% of adults report feeling moderately to severely lonely. Not occasionally, regularly. But here's where it gets hopeful. Researchers studying happiness, including that same decades-long study from Harvard, have found that the single most powerful factor in lifelong happiness isn't wealth, health, or career success. It's the quality of your relationships. Let that sink in for a moment. Not how many people you know, not how big your family is, but how deeply connected you feel to a few people who truly matter. People who make you feel safe, heard, and appreciated just as you are. And it's not about having perfect relationships. It's about having warm ones. That's the word researchers use, warm. Relationships where there's trust, where you can relax, where you don't feel judged or drained or like you have to perform. It might be a sibling, a neighbor, a longtime friend, or even someone you've just started reconnecting with. What matters is how they make you feel when you're around them. Let's try something simple right now. Think of two columns in your mind, warm and cold. Who in your life would you place under warm? The people who make you smile when their name pops up on your phone, or who leave you feeling energized and lighter after a conversation. Now think of the cold column, the people who stress you out, make you feel small, or leave you emotionally drained. That's not to say you need to cut everyone out of your life. But what if you put more of your energy, even just a little, into the warm column? Called those people more, made plans with them, sent them a kind message. Let yourself be real with them. That alone can lift the quality of your everyday life in ways that are almost hard to describe. And it works both ways. You can be that warm person for someone else too. Sometimes just reaching out first, being the one to say, "Hey, I've been thinking about you," or "I miss our chats," can open a door neither of you realized had been closed. Now maybe you're thinking, "But I don't really have anyone like that right now." That's okay. You're not broken. You're not too late. Connection is something you can build, slowly, gently, one small moment at a time. You can start with brief interactions, talking to the cashier at the store, saying hello to a neighbor, complimenting someone's scarf, or smile. These might seem like tiny throwaway moments, but they aren't. Researchers have found that small, positive social interactions with strangers throughout the day actually boost happiness in a meaningful way. That's how powerful human connection is. We're wired for it. And don't forget your family, even if things have been distant or complicated. A simple message to a grandchild, a kind word to a sibling, or an unexpected call to someone you haven't spoken to in years might just warm both your lives in ways you didn't expect. And if making new friends or reconnecting feels too big right now, That's okay too. Start smaller. You can create moments of connection with yourself. When you speak kindly to yourself. When you do something nurturing for yourself. When you stop judging yourself for what you haven't done and start appreciating yourself for all the ways you've kept going. This relationship, the one you have with yourself, is part of your happiness too. In fact, it might be the most important one of all. Because when you treat yourself with care, with honesty, and with patience, you create the emotional safety you've been craving. And that opens the door for others to connect with you more easily too. So often we think of happiness as something big, something that has to come in like a wave and sweep us off our feet. But the older we get, the more we realize that happiness is often quiet. It's not loud or flashy. It's a gentle conversation, a belly laugh over something silly, a cup of tea with someone who listens, a walk where you finally notice how beautiful the sky is today. It's the kind of happiness that doesn't beg for attention, but wraps itself around you like a warm blanket, steady, reassuring, and deeply real. And if you feel like you've been missing that lately, it's not because it's gone. It's because you're ready to notice it again, ready to welcome it back into your life, not by searching harder, but by softening into the moments and people that matter. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be willing to take a small step. Text someone. Smile at someone. Speak more kindly to yourself. These are not small things. They are the foundation of a richer, fuller, happier life. And the beautiful part is, this kind of happiness doesn't care how old you are. It doesn't care about your resume or your regrets. It only asks that you show up, that you try, that you open your heart just a little one day at a time. There's a moment, usually in the quiet, when you realize how quickly time has passed. You look around your home, see the same chair, the same coffee cup, the same calendar slowly turning, and you wonder, how many days have gone by where you were physically present, but mentally elsewhere? You were there, but not really there. And before you know it, another week disappears. We often think of happiness as something we need to go out and get. Something big, like a trip, a gift, a goal. But what if true happiness isn't found somewhere far away? What if it's sitting right in front of you, in the smile of your grandchild, the smell of your favorite meal, the breeze through an open window? And you just haven't been noticing? Being present might be the most underrated happiness habit there is, and yet it's also the most powerful. When you're fully in the moment, even the smallest things can feel extraordinary. And for many people, especially in this stage of life, the ability to slow down and savor is not only available, it's essential. You see, one of the biggest things that steals our happiness isn't pain or loss or disappointment. It's distraction. It's that restless mind of ours that's always jumping ahead, worrying about what might go wrong, or drifting backward, replaying things we wish had gone differently. Researchers have found that almost half of our waking hours are spent thinking about something other than what we're doing. That means nearly half of our life is lived in our heads, not in reality. And the more our minds wander, the less happy we tend to feel. Not because we're imagining something terrible, but because we're simply missing what's real. That's why presence matters. It anchors you. It opens your eyes. It softens your heart. It brings you back to living, not just existing. And here's the thing. Being present doesn't mean you have to sit cross-legged on the floor and meditate for an hour. It doesn't require silence or candles or any special training. It just means paying attention, truly noticing what's right in front of you, and appreciating it while it's still here. Take something as simple as washing the dishes. You can rush through it, grumbling, thinking about what you need to do next. Or you can feel the warm water on your hands, watch the bubbles float, listen to the sounds around you, Even that small moment, if you let it, can feel peaceful, alive. Or imagine sitting outside just listening to the wind move through the trees. No phone, no TV, no list, just you and the moment. Have you ever had a conversation where you could tell someone wasn't really listening? Maybe they nodded but their eyes wandered, or they kept checking the clock. Compare that to a conversation where someone looked you in the eye, leaned in, laughed with you, or paused to really hear what you were saying. There's a world of difference. When you give someone your full attention, you're giving them one of the greatest gifts you have. And when you receive that kind of presence in return, it fills you up in ways words can't fully describe. It makes you feel loved, seen, understood. That's real connection. And that's real happiness. Another beautiful thing about presence is how it slows time. Not literally, of course. The clock still ticks. But it feels slower. Moments stretch out. You notice things you usually miss. The way the sunlight hits your curtains in the morning. The quiet rhythm of your breathing. The way your pet looks at you when they want attention. These aren't just background details. They're your life. And when you miss them, you miss you. Sometimes people say, "But I'm too old to change how I think." That's simply not true. Your brain can still form new pathways. Your heart can still soften. Your habits can still shift. And your spirit? That part of you that longs to feel joy, peace, meaning. It doesn't care how many birthdays you've had. It's still alive, still hopeful, still ready. If you want to practice being more present, start small. Eat your next meal a little slower. Chew it. Taste it. Sit outside for 5 minutes without your phone. Watch how the clouds move. Call a loved one and actually listen without multitasking. Just let yourself be there. No rushing, no overthinking, just now. You'll be amazed at how much brighter the world feels when you start paying attention again. And if you're feeling skeptical, thinking, how can something so simple make me feel better? Well, simplicity is the point. The best parts of life are often simple. The smell of clean sheets, a warm blanket on a cold night, the hug of someone who means something to you. None of these require money, status, or perfect health. They only require your awareness. We live in a world that tells us we always need more. More stuff, more goals, more plans. But happiness often comes from less. Less distraction, less pressure, less noise. Just you, awake to the moment. Grateful for the chance to still be here. You've been through so much in your life. You've survived loss, overcome challenges, and held on to hope even when it was hard. That resilience is already inside you. Now, happiness is asking something gentler. It's not about fighting for it. It's about noticing it, allowing it, making space for it. So let yourself slow down today. Let yourself smile for no reason. Let yourself remember that you don't need to chase anything. Happiness isn't far away. It's not locked behind achievements or hidden in the future. It's in your morning coffee, in the sound of birds outside your window, in the feel of your feet on the floor as you rise to start the day. It's already inside you. Sometimes we wait for happiness like it's a bus that's running late. We sit quietly, watching the clock, thinking, maybe today it'll show up. We hope someone will come along to lift our spirits. We hope something changes. Maybe our health, our family dynamics, our routines. And then, maybe then, we'll finally feel that spark again. But the truth is, happiness isn't a bus. It's not coming from down the road. It's already parked quietly beside you, waiting for you to notice it. So if you've been feeling off, not miserable, but not quite content either, that subtle restlessness has a message. It's not telling you to do more or be more. It's inviting you to come back to yourself, to rediscover the joy that never really left, only got a little quiet. Happiness isn't something we earn. It's not a prize for working hard or being perfect. It's something we can allow ourselves to feel right now in our imperfect, ordinary, wonderful lives. You don't need a huge transformation. You just need small shifts in the way you live your days. Let yourself laugh a little more, even if the joke isn't that funny. Let yourself play, even if it feels silly. Let yourself text that friend, even if it's been a long time. Let yourself walk slower, eat slower, breathe slower. Let yourself be present, not just for the big moments, but for the small ones that make life beautiful. Because here's the honest truth. Most of life is small moments. A good cup of soup, a familiar voice on the phone, the way the sun warms your face through the window. If you miss those, you miss the best parts of being alive. And don't underestimate your power, your ability to create happiness, not just for yourself, but for others. A kind word, a warm smile, a gentle "how are you?" to someone who needs it. These things ripple further than we realize. You might be the very reason someone else remembers there's still good in the world. If you take just one thing from all of this, let it be this: you are not behind. You are not too old. And you have not missed your chance. Happiness is not in your past. It's not waiting in your future. It's right here, waiting for you to reach out and feel it again. It might show up as laughter when you least expect it, or a tear that surprises you with how good it feels to let go, or a sudden sense of peace during the simplest part of your day. That's not luck. That's presence. That's connection. That's the real you coming back to life. So, if your heart has felt heavy, let this be your reminder. Happiness isn't something to chase anymore. It's something to create from the inside out. You do that by living intentionally, by choosing joy even in small doses, by surrounding yourself with warm people, even if it's just one call or conversation at a time, and by being present in your own life instead of watching it pass by from the sidelines. That's the formula. Not a secret, not a mystery. Just 3 gentle shifts. Have fun on purpose. Invest in relationships that feel good. Be here, in this moment, fully alive. You don't need to wait for permission. You already have it. So if you're watching this, and it sparked something inside of you, don't let it fade. Do something today, even something tiny, that brings a little more happiness into your world. And if it makes you feel good, do it again tomorrow. Let that become your new rhythm. And remember, you're not alone. There are people out there who need your light, your story, your wisdom, and yes, your joy. And if you ever feel like you're the only one trying, just know this channel, this community, is here walking beside you. So tell us in the comments, what small thing brings you joy these days? A smell, a song, a memory, a moment? We'd love to hear from you. Let's remind each other that happiness is still alive and well in our lives. Sometimes we just need a little nudge to notice it again. If this video spoke to you, don't forget to like it. It helps others find it too. And subscribe to Strong Elderly Life for more content made just for you. Real conversations, real support, and encouragement for living your best life after 60. Because you deserve to be happy. Not someday. Now. Here's to rediscovering joy, one beautiful, ordinary moment at a time.